Great. So thanks for joining us. I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I'm probably going to say your surname a little bit wrong.
All right. Well, my name is Joel Torgeson. I'm a dancer currently in Minnesota in the United States, but I kind of go all over the place. I write a blog. I've got some other projects that I work on. Feather3 is a business that I own and do some other things. But yeah, that's me, Joel.
That's you, Joel, and you're just like casually like scooping over the other businesses that you run, which are also there quite predominantly in the sidelines as well. So you've recently had to go
Yeah.
back home to Minnesota because we've been hit by the coronavirus globally. Before that, you were touring like the UK and Ireland and Europe and a lot of other
Mhm.
places. So that's quite exciting. How do you find that?
Yeah. Oh, it was a ton of fun. I've always wanted to do a longer term trip overseas. It's something that I've just kind of always had as a goal. I know a book that I read that has influenced me a lot is Vagabonding by Ralph Potts, and he kind of talks about being able to travel the world, and especially in a way that isn't as super planned. I know that's going to sound a little strange because I ended up with a very planned schedule while I was there, but just being able to go and experience things and see where the experience takes you. And I feel like I was able to get a bit of a taste of that on my trip over in Europe. So yeah, I was in Europe and the continent. I spent a lot of time in the UK, teaching, dancing, and also exploring and seeing stuff. So it was a really good time.
Yeah, great. And what was your favorite place to visit?
That is not a fair question because
That's mean.
uh, everyone's going to be mad at me.
I'm going to say it was Oxford. You can just like nod and go no, because that's my hometown. So I'm going to be pleased with that one. So we've
I
switched
mean,
on.
I had great experiences all over. I really enjoyed. There's some really cool spots to see in Romania. I enjoyed Romania. I found the people in Germany to be super welcoming and exciting. I love that. The UK was also gorgeous. I spent a lot of time in Scotland. Really got to see some there. Never been to London before, so when I came down to London, that was really cool as well to see some of those sites. So, I mean, it's hard to, like I say, it's hard to say what place was my favorite, but I enjoyed a lot of where I was at.
Great. That's a really good political answer as well. I like it. But yeah, I think every country definitely has
Yeah.
its characters, and that's one of the things I enjoy traveling with West Coast is I always try and tag on a little bit of social time in that country
Mhm.
afterwards to get to know it. So yeah, it's good fun. So we invited you on for many, many reasons, but one of them is I've been a fan of your blog for ages, and I love how your brain thinks. And you're very much somebody who loves learning and growing, which is one of my core values is growth and learning. And recently you posted a blog called Corona Opportunity, and I was hoping we could talk about that a little bit because I've seen a lot of posts going out, and I think people have been trying to share positivity and support. I know teachers have made like classes freely available. I know so many people are doing yoga and nutrition and other things, and we're trying to support that as well. But I love the tone of the blog. I was hoping we could go over some of the points that you raised in it as well.
Absolutely happy to. What in particular would you like me to start off with, if you don't mind?
Well, I mean, you've titled it the Corona Opportunity, and you obviously
Mhm.
covered that this is a very tragic event, and it's affecting a lot of people, and we all hope everybody's staying safe and well. And there have been people who have sadly passed away across the world, and it's been indiscriminate with that. But that aside, it is a huge opportunity, and I just hopefully we
Mhm.
could go over some of the key elements of where you think your biggest ideas of
Yeah,
opportunity are, and then how people can access those.
absolutely. So you're absolutely right. I think of this. It's difficult to talk about because we're in an incredibly sad time. Just as you say, like it is. It is really sad what is already happening and what's going to happen in the coming months. I mean, hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, are going to lose their lives, and there's nothing nice about that. And I guess I don't have anything additional to say other than that's really sad, and I'm sorry for everyone who that's going to affect. At the same time, I think that we can choose to look at this as an opportunity to bring ourselves forward in a variety of different ways. I guess, in the article, I talked a lot about opportunities to educate yourself was one of the big ones that I had. I called it like Corona University.
Mhm.
And what we're seeing is tons of online platforms are offering their content for free or for very little cost to people who, you know, don't have things to do during this time. Now, some people, you know, healthcare workers in particular, they are worked to the brink, and I'm I'm very grateful to those people who are doing that. But for others of us who don't have that occupation and who may be out of work, in a sense like myself, there's no one's taking dance lessons or going to conventions right now. This downtime of sorts becomes a huge opportunity to work on other elements of our person. So one example I looked at is on the online platforms like Coursera or EDX, I think is another one. There's, you know, online courses available from places like Harvard. I'm taking one from the Wharton School of Business right now on entrepreneurship, and they're free to audit. You can go and get that information. If you want to get the certificate for it, you can pay extra to be, you know, get the official certificate. But for me, I just really like information. I like being able to know things. And so having this extra time for me is a great opportunity to get out and just learn a bunch of stuff. I'm also on Duolingo right now practicing German. So I'm starting to learn German, and I've been able to put a ton of time in on that. So I can't quite say like for sure that I speak German yet. I think I've got a month or two of practicing yet to go, but I'm really enjoying it. Ich mag Deutsch, you know? So that's been really fun. I think another opportunity that people have, and I'm not using this in the exact way that perhaps I would recommend to some other people too, but there's an opportunity here too, if you want to double down on the dance practicing that you already do, or if you're someone like myself who dances for a living and dances all the time. I'm actually taking this as an opportunity to step back and work on some other wellness things that help support my dancing in particular. And what I mean by that, what this looks like for me personally is, while I was in Europe and traveling, and also, you know, before I went to Europe, I was traveling the US pretty aggressively as a dance professional. You know, I'm dancing 4 or 5 nights a week, and I'm dancing a lot, and I'm teaching, and I'm social dancing. I'm doing all of this stuff. And that can take a toll on your body over time.
Yeah.
So I've actually been using this opportunity to recommit to doing yoga. I've done yoga every morning for the past 2 weeks. And I've been able to, you know, work on my meditation practice and go out for long walks. So still staying fit, but finding different ways of moving my body, because frankly, I came back from Europe with a mostly healed stress fracture in my left foot, a problem in my right knee, and a little problem in my right shoulder. The stress fracture is gone because I've been taking the time to give it the space that it needs, and both the right shoulder and right knee are feeling better and continue to feel better over time. So that's what I'm doing. For people who are, you know, maybe they don't dance as much, it's also an opportunity to practice drills or things like that that can improve your quality of movement for the future. So yeah, and I guess the other thing that I'm doing, and you've maybe seen this from the blog, is I'm taking the opportunity to really work on my writing and try to work on that as a skill. I think, you know, when we find ourselves in times of isolation or places where we're not able to interact as much with the people that we're used to, especially on a actual face-to-face level, that can be really challenging for people, and for very understandable reasons. But I think it's also an opportunity to work on things like reading, like, you know, if you like meditation, which I do, it's a great opportunity to work on stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's kind of a brief overview of some of the topics that I covered in that blog. Basically, the underlying theme of it is that we have an opportunity to look at this in the way that we choose to. And if we see it as an opportunity for growth, we'll find the things that we can grow in. And if we choose to look at it as an opportunity, as, you know, something terrible that's happening to us, which in a sense it is, but if we can't look past that, we're going to lose the opportunity to reap the rewards of focusing on other things.
Yeah, I love that. And it's you read quite a lot as well, I've noticed from your blog, and just from mentions of things. I think you've even got one, books I have read this year, or something like that. And I always I get inspired by people who are positive no matter what. And I think, like Nelson Mandela was one of those for me, who was so terrifyingly positive and had an ability to influence those around him that they put him in isolation, literally because he would give people
Right.
hope. And I think it's a challenge to do that. I've had my ups and downs in the last few weeks. I've lost a lot of work as well because of it. And I'm now kind of doing a lot of stuff financially to try and sort that out. But I think people can have the anxiety, you can sit with it and stay there, or you can acknowledge it, work through it, and then use this as an opportunity. And I really like that. So I guess my questions, well, I have so many questions, but
Yeah.
but for people, I think one of the biggest things now is people being so generous. There's so much out there, like you said. I mean, University of Durham and UK universities have opened up multiple courses as well to go study. I think even I have suffered from this. It's like, if you're like, right, okay, I'm going to take this opportunity, I'm going to learn. It's then overwhelming, the choice. So what would be your recommendation
Yes.
for pinpointing what to focus on right now?
That's going to totally depend on the person. A quote that I think of fairly often is, this comes from like workouts and exercise science and that sort of thing, but basically the good program that you follow is better than the perfect program that you don't. And I think the paradox of choice is something that I know I get hit in the face with it all the time. Like when I was trying to choose the courses that I was going to do, and I ended up settling on a data science course and an entrepreneurship course. But when I was looking at them on the two online programs I chose, entrepreneurship, there were like 50 different options of what I could take. And it's like, oh my gosh, like, how do I choose the best one? And the reality of it is, they're all probably going to get you to approximately the same place. And choosing any one of them is going to be better than, sitting on the couch watching Netflix. Not to say that I haven't done that at all. Like, I've seen some shows with my family. It's been great. And I think that's important for people to know. It's not, backing up a little bit, I think sometimes there's a danger of seeming like we're automatons who just like run through walls all the time. We're never not productive. That's simply not true. Like I certainly have been watching shows with my dad. I've been watching Big Bang Theory and stuff like that. And that's a great way of, spending time with him and also watching a show I enjoy. But I think that on the balance, sorry.
Sorry, I think there's delay. It's getting that downtime as well, because I think it's really important. And sometimes when we switch our brain off, that's when they do a lot of complex reasoning and association. So you kind of have to have the monotony and the not thinking to really segment that learning into your brain, I think. So there's a lot of neuroscience around it. So I think that's really key.
I think you're absolutely right. And it's really impossible to be like redlining or be at 100% cognitively or physically all the time. We need that downtime. Just going back to the paradox of choice, like I said, I think if you pick a direction and run in it, you can always go, a little ways, and you can go a week into a course and be like, you know what, this isn't exactly what I thought it was going to be. Actually, I don't think this is what I want. That's fine. Like, you can go start something else. But if you never start off in a direction, you'll always be right where you are. So as glib as it might be to say, just pick a direction and start running, and you can always reorient yourself once you get a little ways down on that path.
Yeah, I like that. I have the phrase on my wall, which is done is better than perfect.
True. And yeah, the one that I remember from when I was in undergrad in anthropology was, and this was mostly for people who were working on their dissertations, but they would say, don't let perfect be the enemy of good, or don't let a done dissertation is, but a finished dissertation, a good finished dissertation is better than a perfect incomplete one, or something like that. So
yeah, exactly. Okay, and so we've got dancers who maybe they're still doing their day job, but from slightly difficult conditions, because they're working from home. People have different sized homes. Some can get outside more easily than others, and they've got this free time in the evenings, but they don't want to let the dance practice go. So in that situation, I know you're not doing a lot right now because you're kind of apologizing to your body and you're letting it heal and recover a bit, and focusing on
Yep.
other things. But what would you suggest to somebody who's now like, oh my gosh, I don't have an instructor right here, right now. What should I do to make sure that I'm practicing the right way?
A couple things. So one of the things that I think is really important, and I think something that I've heard Brandy say as well, and something that I really believe personally, is that small practice chunks throughout the day tend to be more useful in the long run than just doing one big chunk every now and then. And what I mean by that is, if you have a desk job or something where you're working like that, if you're able to take, let's say, like a 5-minute break, put on a song, just jam out and think about maybe one, maybe two things that you're trying to do. Let's say it's rhythm. You're trying to make sure that your triple rhythm is appropriately structured, or rolling through your feet. That's a common one that a lot of students end up working on. That's going to be a really effective way to get that information and get that process started in your subconscious mind. And then you can go back to your work and your subconscious brain is still chewing on what it is that you were working on. I think sometimes we psych ourselves up that a practice session needs to be, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, whatever it needs to be. And we feel like we really have to like slam away on it. And there are some concepts for which that's going to be the most effective way of practicing. But I actually think that for the majority of people, things like posture, right, standing up, or things like rhythm and things like rolling through the feet, we don't have to be in a maximally warm place, warm in terms of warming up your body, in order to access some of those techniques. And so that's what I recommend to most of my students to work on, is work on your rhythms, work on rolling through the feet, work on some of these basic techniques, because frankly, you're not going to be able to focus on them for 20 minutes. I don't know about you guys, but like just rolling through my feet for 20 minutes is a little bit mind numbing, but I can do it for 2 minutes. I can do it for, I can do it for half a song. And that's actually the unit of practice that I think really makes a difference. We're trying to find the minimum effective dose. And so, how much do we need to do to get the training effect? Anything beyond that is going to be surplus in my book. So for me, I would say to those people, find ways, put a little timer on or something like that. And every once in a while, whatever it is for you, dance one song and focus on that. And to me, that's actually a more effective way than just practicing in the evenings. But really, any way that you can use to build a dance practice into the stuff that you already do is, to me, going to be the most effective.
So I love that advice, because as a coach, I'm trying to say to people, take breaks from your desk. The problem with working from home is the kitchen is way closer. So people tend to take breaks and eat, and you're not walking as far, but that incorporates a little bit of movement,
Right.
it gets your blood flowing, it gets your brain turning off so that you
Yes.
can focus better when you go back. And you're also getting your practice into your day as well. So you're not stressing out over your job, you're not stressing out over your practice.
And another thing I think is they've shown from like memory studies and stuff like that, that you remember the most information. Not that not everyone's working on memory, but your peak work tends to be at the beginning and the ends of your work unit. And so sometimes breaking your work up into more individual units helps. Now, if you're doing something like writing or coding where you really need to be in a flow state, maybe that's not exactly the way that works. And that's fair, but I still think there's something valuable to it.
Yeah, completely. Thanks for throwing that in. There's like a whole load of free coaching knowledge there. So great. So I don't want to take too much more of your time, because I appreciate you've got a lot of other things to do, and we're kind of midway through the day for you, and I'm at the end of the day. And you've got a new blog post to get out today. So watch that, guys.
It's true. I'm working on pumping out a new one today.
If you could give advice to people in this time period where it is probably going to get more challenging before it gets easier. Some people will find this easier than others, and particularly I think extroverts like me, I suffer from not being around a variety of people. It doesn't matter how great the one person or two people I have, if it's not a variety, I suffer quite a lot from that. What is your advice for having resilience? Because I think being positive now is fantastic. In a few weeks' time is going to be much harder. So how do we mitigate against that?
The honest truth is I don't necessarily have a great answer for this. There's probably more qualified people online or elsewhere who would have better answers than I do. I guess what I would say is, don't be afraid to reach out. I think a lot of people all over are experiencing similar things. And, I think a great practice for this sort of thing is finding, it could be one person a day or something like that, but someone who you maybe knew well in the past, but you don't have as strong a connection to now, and finding a way of reconnecting with them. Maybe it's sending them a Facebook message or something like that. I'm more and more a fan of just calling someone and leaving them a message. The rigmarole of Facebook messaging and all that sort of there's a lot of impersonality and text stuff. Sometimes just calling and leaving a message or seeing if they're online and willing to talk for 5 minutes. That's kind of cool. So I've had some success with that, but yeah, I think you're right. It is going to get harder before it gets easier here. And resilience. I don't know. I think finding within yourself something to work on, something to be proud of, I think that's really effective for a lot of people. That's what kind of keeps me going, is working on my health and my body, taking walks and that sort of stuff, working on my mind. But I have extroverted features, but I'm a little bit more of an ambivert, so I'm happy to have my alone time with my headphones in, just chilling out and reading. I guess the biggest thing would be, don't be afraid to reach out to people. Everyone's in this together, and I think people on the whole are really happy to feel like they're wanted and needed by other people. So it's all right to reach out and see where people are at. Yeah, connect with them.
Ooh, thank you. And I've got one last little one. You've kind of covered it mostly.
Yeah.
The things you're studying at the moment. What would be the best outcome for you personally in this time period? What are you looking forward to having produced, created, or learned in this time?
Got it. Okay. So, and this is actually a really good question. I think something that is useful for me to relate. So, for me, like I said, I'm working on German, I'm working on entrepreneurship, data science. These are some courses that I'm taking. I'm working on my writing. I'm also working on starting a business with my sister. So my sister is an artist, and I'm trying to, kind of similar to what I've done with putting stuff on shirts for dancers, I'm looking at doing that for her with some of her art. So that's exciting. I think the biggest thing that I'm focusing on right now in terms of my own learning is, when I believe that we as a society are going to get through this. I'm hoping I don't get coronavirus, and if I do, I hope I make it through. I think the probabilities are pretty good for me. So I think that, within 2 years' time, we're going to find ourselves in a position where we're coming out of this. Economies will probably be damaged, but we'll be hopefully headed in the right direction. And so I'm trying to lay the groundwork right now for that future date, so that whatever it is that I'm doing then, I'm ready for it, financially certainly, but also in terms of the opportunities that I'm ready to put into the market. So that's why I'm kind of exploring. It may seem odd to be exploring business opportunities while, business is going through the floor, but I think there's an opportunity to get ready now for a future state that we'll be in. So whatever that is for you, if you can find low cost ways of preparing yourself for future opportunities, you're banking up that, you're not losing that effort. You're banking it up so that you can spend it in the future. So that's really what I'm focusing on, is, what is the future state that I envision and that I think is going to happen, and how can I prepare myself to be ready for that and ready to take advantage of that when it comes. And for me, that's taking some entrepreneurship classes and, setting up a new business and trying out some of that stuff. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on.
Exciting. So it's just a small list of things there. And you're going to have some Netflix and some yoga in there.
I also, if it helps anyone, I also need to clean my room. This is my childhood room, so I've got a Tesla coil over here I built a long time ago, and it all needs to get cleaned up. But that's another project that's on the pile. So yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time and for sharing your thoughts and some positivity and opportunity for people as well. I think it's going to be really appreciated. Just really quickly, if people want to know more about you, where they can find you?
Yeah, if you want to know more about me, I'd definitely recommend checking out joeltorgeson.com. That's my blog. Like I said, throwing up a new post today. And I'm going to update my About section here at some point, but I'll make that a little bit more up to date here soon. I'm also on Instagram at Joel Torgeson, Facebook at Joel Torgeson, Twitter, I think I'm also at Joel Torgeson. Not as much on that platform these days. But yeah, those are probably the main ways to find me. But the blog is probably going to be that. And then also, if you want to check out my current business, that's Feather3, all spelled out. Feather3, both words. And that's on, I have an online storefront. I also have an Instagram and a Facebook for that account as well. So check me out wherever you want.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.